Today on the Tiger Lacrosse Report, we'll preview the Tigers' game against the Drexel Dragons. Get ready, fans. The Tiger Lacrosse Report starts now. Hello and welcome to the Tiger Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. The Tigers will wrap up their pair of games this week back inside Johnny Unitas Stadium against the Drexel Dragons. As always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Sonia LaMonica. Coach, welcome back.
How are you, Ben?
So, Drexel, I'm good, thank you. I just roll with it sometimes.
Yeah.
So Drexel, 7-6, 2-1. It's really a traffic jam up in the standings right now.
Yeah.
They split their games last week, 15-2. Losing to Elon, beating William & Mary 12-8.
Yeah.
They have a tough stretch. JMU on Friday and then you on Sunday. Despite your record, you're, in my mind, and I'll argue to the end of time, you're still the best, if not the second, or one of the best teams in this conference. That's a tough stretch for them mentally, and we've had teams come in here to play us that have had to dealt with that before. What kind of advantage does that present to you guys?
I think it's hard to say, because you can look at this past weekend and you could go into the Hofstra game and say, well, they had a tough game on Friday night, but if anything, that can fuel your team, make them hungry, and they kind of got nothing to lose. So I don't know that there's a clear advantage or disadvantage. Sometimes not having the breaks is a good thing. Sometimes not. It's really kind of a crapshoot, I think. All bets are off.
Sure.
We just got to show up. We got to be ready to compete.
For them, Nadia Pelham-Lacey, 31 goals. She leads the team, 16 assists. That's second on the team by one, I believe. She's down one.
Yeah.
It clearly runs through her.
Yeah.
It's not like you guys where, Sam spreads it out, but it could be going to 4 or 5 different people, or Sam scores.
Yeah.
When a team focuses so much of their offense on one person, or at least running through one person, is it the kind of mentality to try to, cut the head off the snake and kill the body sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. You want to limit touches. You want to limit them being able to do what they do best. If they're a feeder, you want to get on their hands to try and flush the ball and get it to move on. They're a dodger. You got to be ready to step in and close the door and do that as a team. So, you really got to sort of shut down those key players, and then hopefully, that makes it tough for a team, to sort of to find other avenues. But you just you got to be ready for anything, and you certainly don't want to overcompensate too much, because then you start opening up opportunities for other individuals, and you're right back where you started.
Defensively for them, Eva Winlarski, and I'm probably pronouncing that name incorrectly, leads their defensive unit, 19 caused turnovers on the year. And I don't think this is true for you. You haven't had a player on another team's defense where you've tried to steer clear of them. You've attacked because you have so many weapons. And is that going to be the case? You're not going to be deterred by somebody who's a good turnover maker?
Yeah, somebody who's good at finding those checks. I think it's just an awareness thing. We've got to be prepared of making sure you protect your stick on players that have some savvy with that. And we've seen individuals like that. I mean, William & Mary has I think one of the best defenders in our conference, and she was everywhere. And good defenders will do that. They will find a way to be in the play and to make a play and make something happen for their team. So you can't avoid players. You've got to step up, and you got to take it on. You got to challenge yourself, and so we don't put too much emphasis on that. But certainly, it is just important that if they're good takeaway checkers, who they are, so that you have a little more emphasis on protecting your stick, a little more awareness.
Overall, this year, the team Towson you've been consistent. There have been these spurts, though, looking at the Hofstra game, where one unit, whether it's the offensive or the defensive unit, kind of dips a little bit. At this point in the season, is it a mental thing? How do you try to key into what usually is a consistent Towson team and try to get that on the field day after day?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think that's a challenge every coach sort of deals with, because it's a long season for one. You're playing a lot of games, and you have to sort of, there are circumstances that are out of your control sometimes, and whether it's sort of injuries and such. At this point in the season, everybody's got their sort of things that they're working through and dealing with. But yeah, you've got to just stay focused on the daily goals, the daily commitments, and that hopefully allows your team to be the most consistent they can be. Breaking down your season to not just games, but to days, because it's the daily work. It's not just on game day, it's what you're doing out in practice every day. And I think that's really important, is making sure that we're executing in practice and we're focused, that we're dialed in, that we're going hard. If we are letting up in practice, that starts to translate on the field, and that's where I think you start seeing some inconsistencies. So, and we've had those moments this season where we've sort of reflected back and seen when we've had not a great outing, we've looked back at practice and sort of felt like, practice wasn't great either. So there's a correlation. So I think that's a big part of it, is the day-to-day, your daily goals, and making sure that you're doing that daily work, not just on game day.
And last question, this is your final conference game, Drexel. Mm-hmm. You'll wrap up the season later against Johns Hopkins. It could be your last chance to get into the CAA tournament, depending on what happens with Delaware and what happens with some other teams. We talked about pressure's on now.
Yeah.
Are you worried that nerves might get too high, that they might try to then compensate and play too relaxed? How do you have to handle this weekend, especially the Drexel game?
You can't worry about that stuff. I think, we're a team that has been in plenty of pressure situations. So you sort of hope and expect that experience will help push you through. And, we've been a number 4 seed in a CAA tournament before and come out and won the championship. Right. We've been the first seed. So we've kind of seen a lot of different situations. And, we've come down to the wire and getting into the tournament. So I think that experience will help us, but we just have to, we can't worry about that stuff, because that just takes away from your focus and concentration on just doing the job in that moment and in that time. So got to stay on course.
All right. Opening draw between the Tigers and Dragons is set for high noon inside Johnny Unitas Stadium. I'll have the call on TowsonTigers.com starting at 11:45. Coach, thanks for joining us. Good luck against Drexel.
Thanks, Ben.
And thank you, fans, for joining us today on the Tiger Lacrosse Report. For head coach Sonia LaMonica, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. We'll see you at the U, and as always, go Tigers.